Jason Miller here with Videomaker.com. Since the beginning of the DSLR craze and the rapid camera evolutions that ensued, we've become accustomed to making a lot of compromises for a nice sensor. In the case of DSLRs, we are compromising on all but the quality of the image. Audio is a nightmare and the form factor is ludicrous, forcing shooters to buy complex and expensive rigs just to use their camera. Sony answered our cries for a camera with a terrific sensor that doesn't demand a rig, shoulder mount, grips, or a practical audio solution to use professionally. The Sony FS7 is the most uncompromising camera available, at a price tag that doesn't compromise your wallet. The Sony PXW-FS7 XD cam is the best camera on the market for your money. Not only is it loaded with tons of high-end features, great ergonomics, but it records 4K internally. No need to rewind, you heard it right. 4K and S-log with no additional equipment needed. Let's start with the specs. The camera does record 4K video internally with a super 35mm Cmos Sensor, giving the image a very nice film look with a beautiful depth of field. The actual resolution in camera is UHD, 3840 by 2160. Not quite full 4K. For that you will need an external recorder. In UHD you have your choice of two different codecs, 10-bit 422 XAVC-I or 8-bit 420 XAVC-L. The difference between XAVC-I and XAVC-L, other than 420 color space, is about 400 megabits per second. Keep in mind that this camera tears through memory cards in UHD, especially in XAVC-I. A 32GB card will get about 24 minutes. XAVC-L will get you about double that, and HD will go for a long while. The plus side is the camera uses XQD cards, which are relatively inexpensive when compared to other media. A 64GB card will run you about $315. The camera has two slots which will allow you to record continuously or relay record. The FS7 Cmos Sensor delivers an image with 14 stops dynamic range in S-log 3. This is astounding, almost as good as the cinematographer favorite Arri Alexa. The footage out of this camera has tons of latitude. We shot in bright daylight with direct sun and harsh shadows with little issues. The camera does exceptionally well in low light, though nothing like its baby brother, the Sony A7S. There are many frame rate options as well. You have your choice of 5994p, 50p, 2997p, 2398p, or 25p. The Sony FS7 has the ability to switch quickly between your standard frame rate and a second rate of your choosing. This is called S and Q function. There is a button on the side of the camera that you just push to switch modes. Careful though, it is easy to press when not paying attention. You can set it from 1 frame per second to undercrank or up to 180 frames per second for overcranking. There is a catch though. In UHD, the max frame rate is 60 frames per second, so you must switch to HD for that sexy 180 frames per second. Switching between codecs and resolutions is not quick or easy. The option is buried in the menu and the camera has to restart. The image out of this camera is fantastic and it looks very cinematic. In the coming years, this camera will likely be used on tons of independent films and probably some big budget ones. The quality of the image, the texture, and the overall tone are very film-like. Even the grain doesn't look digital. When this camera debuted at NAB last year, many people, but especially F55 owners, were turning their heads with frustration and jealousy. This camera, minus internal RAW recording and Genlock, is essentially an F55. The image between the two is indistinguishable. The form factor of this camera is unique in today's environment, but it is clearly inspired by the Arri SR2 and other handheld Super 16mm cameras. It even has an Arri standard rosette on the front right side of the camera that the handle attaches to. The handle and arm are not perfect, but they work very well. The grip is very much stylized like a wooden grip and fits into the hand comfortably. The grip has a coiled cable that attaches to the side of the camera, enabling control of the camera through the grip. This includes record, a zoom rocker, menu navigation, and has 2 custom function buttons. This addition makes the camera very easy to use handheld. It cannot be said enough, the Sony FS7 is tons of fun to use handheld. The body of the camera is made out of magnesium, keeping the weight down and the durability up. The camera weighs in at under 5 pounds without a lens, which is crazy light when you consider that nothing has to be added to the camera to use it handheld. The camera has a well-built and sturdy top handle that feels very strong. On the top handle is the mic holder, hot shoe, and monitor mount. The monitor setup is both nice and odd. Nice in that it utilizes standard 15mm rails to mount and position the monitor. Odd in that they are plastic. The monitor, on the other hand, is not great. Not bad either. It glares easily and is not real helpful when trying to pull focus. Sony tries to amend this with a cheap eyepiece attachment. While it's completely functional, it feels cheap and out of place with this camera. The Sony FS7 has tons of connections, further separating it from much of its competition in this price point. You get 2 SDI outs, HDMI out, 2 XLR, power supply, 1/8-inch headphone jack, USB, and a mini jack for the remote. The whole left side of the camera is covered in buttons, including 6 programmable custom buttons. You also have shutter, iris, and white balance control. The aperture control is not perfect. It's a bit slow and not very smooth. An odd feature with this camera is that when shooting in S-log 3, you only have 3 white balance settings: 3200K, 4300K, and 5500K. If you're using a color card or gray card, getting perfect white balance in post won't be that hard. You also have 3 ISO preset settings on the side of the camera, which are completely customizable. Otherwise, you have to dive into the menu. By far the worst thing about the Sony FS7 is its menu system. It's slow, with many features buried within. If there is a setting that needs to be changed and it's in the menu, don't count on getting there in a hurry. Part of it is that there are so many menus in some menus. Plus, load time for each menu is very slow. One of the best features of this camera is the 3-stage ND filter dial on the front side of the camera. This has been something missing on many cameras and is a very welcome addition to the FS7. The lens mount on the Sony FS7 is Sony NEX, the same as the Sony A7S and FS700, which is fantastic. With an adapter, you can use your Nikon, Canon, or Leica lenses. Our tests were done primarily with Canon L-series glass using a Metabones adapter that worked without incident. The images we got from the Canon glass were superb. We also did some testing with Sony's new ENG style lens, the FE 28 to 135mm f4G OSS, and surprisingly, it was really fun. That lens transforms the FS7 into a real ENG camera. While the lens is not fast at f4, the quality of the image was great and having an aperture ring was wonderful. The only restriction when using that lens with the FS7 is it's not quite wide enough for real run-and-gun ENG work. The Sony FS7 is a really interesting camera. It's a camera that tries to live in 2 worlds, both ENG and cinema, and it does this very well. This camera can and will be used by news agencies and documentarians for years to come. The image looks cinematic while having the functionality of an ENG camera. Beyond the superb 4K recording, this camera feels very much like a cinema camera. It's very easy to forget the minimal complaints and real inconveniences with the FS7, because it's a camera that really grows on you. While this review may seem like a love letter to Sony, it's deservingly so. Sony clearly listened to the frustration of shooters and made something we all want to use. If only it had a better menu system. But we can't have everything. I'm Jason Miller with Videomaker.com. Thank you for watching.
As always, subscribe to our YouTube page. Like, share, and comment below. We want to know what you think. If you love video production, want to learn more, and want to stay up to date on the newest and coolest gear, sign up for our exclusive newsletter and we'll deliver it right to your inbox. Want to go down the wormhole? We have more of our YouTube videos below. If you're a Plus member, check out the center video for a premium Videomaker.com video. I'm Chris from Videomaker.com. Thanks for watching.